Welcome once again to Wrestling Still Rules. I'm Big Million, and I'm the Tag Team Champions. I'm joined by my good friend and my co-host, the president of the James Ellsworth Fan Club, Jay Matson. What's up, Jay?
Not too much, man. How you doing?
You hated that, didn't you?
Huh?
You hated that, didn't you?
Yeah.
I had to throw it in.
Oh, of course you did.
Had to throw it in. Well, That's what makes our show fun.
Yeah. Oh, what's, a little ribbing between friends,
Exactly. So what's going on this week, man?
Well, I just wanted to give a quick shout out before we get right down into the meat of things. We recently just got our first and really our only 5-star review on the podcast on iTunes.
Nice.
So we here at WSR Podcast would like to personally thank the person known as JTG Fan for their kind words and support. We're just two wrestling fans making a podcast about wrestling. Appreciate any and all support. Also, every review helps us get noticed more, so please, if you listen to us on iTunes, be sure to subscribe and leave a rating and review. Tell us what you like about the show. Hell, tell us what you don't like about the show, and we'll do our best to adapt so we can try and bring you the best show possible. Also, I also wanted to give a special thanks to, and we did thank our Irish listener last week. And this week, I'd like to thank a gentleman known as Mr. Cardboard, who checked out the podcast all the way from France.
France.
So, yeah.
We come from France.
We come from France.
Coneheads.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so thank you so much. I mean, we really appreciate any support, and yeah, just continue to listen.
We're glad you guys dig it.
Yeah. It sounds, I mean, for the most part, the feedback we've gotten to this point, I mean, we're 4 episodes in, has been pretty positive.
And this episode, man, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, this could be the make or break episode.
A good one.
If the first one wasn't already. So
what's going on?
Well, this week's show is a big one. It's a big one. We have not one but 2 guests on the show this week, and we're super excited to dive right in. But first, here's a word from our sponsor.
We'd like to extend our thanks to GremlinJuice.com for becoming our first sponsor. Based in Olympia, Washington, Gremlin Juice offers some of the most unique, affordable, and flavorful e-liquids on the market, including their world-famous, often imitated but never duplicated, vanilla custard. It doesn't matter if you're new to the vaping world, Gremlin Juice has something for you. Rich, the owner of Gremlin Juice, even created a promo code just for you, the Wrestling Still Rules listener. I've been a loyal customer since 2013 and only have positive things to say about Gremlin Juice. You can even save 15% off your order by using the code WSR15. Remember, that's gremlinjuice.com and use the promo code WSR15. Gremlin Juice. If it tastes good, vape it. All right, without any further ado, allow me to introduce you to our first guest this evening from Freak Show Wrestling, the OG scumdog of the universe, TECHNO DESTRUCTO. Welcome to the show, Techno.
That's right. It's me, TECHNO DESTRUCTO. I'm trying to communicate with the dark side of the moon. I'm checking to see if that order I put in for all the replacement parts for my armor is coming through. I'm expecting a very big load coming out of Uranus.
I'm pretty sure you're looking for a Galactic FedEx or DHL. You don't have that, Techno. You've got the Wrestling Still Rules podcast.
Oh, well, I will. I'm sorry about the mistake, but I will humor you and answer your question.
We really appreciate that. We know your time's precious, Techno, and we know that you've come from beyond Venus, beyond Jupiter, and way past Uranus. But how the hell did you end up in Las Vegas with Freak Show Wrestling?
Well, I'm not really that sure, you know. I just sort of stumbled into these characters. I heard about that there was this band of evil chickens from outer space that was having a wedding in Las Vegas, and there was lots of wrestling and stuff going on, and they were called the Radioactive Chicken Heads. And so I went there to try to hook up with them and hopefully maybe find some good replacement parts for my armor. And I ended up getting in a bunch of fights with a bunch of people. And next thing you know, Sin Vodi brought me into his group of weird misfits, and I've been doing professional wrestling ever since. I've been sort of bringing the gift of battle to the human race.
We appreciate that gift.
Hell yeah. Now, you wrestled in Pennsylvania before as well, right?
I did a little bit, a very little bit in Pennsylvania with a guy named Dave Shahadi. And his deal was he was sort of like a Ted DiBiase guy. And during our match, he pulled out a credit card, and I swiped it through my armor, but it was rejected. So mayhem ensued. But I had a really good match in against Bad Luck 13, which is a crazy punk rock band from Philadelphia that's best known for getting in fights with the audience. And they had this huge black dude that's sort of like their bouncer, and he stands at pretty much all he does is fight with the audience. So it was a 2-on-1 handicap match with him and the lead singer from Bad Luck 13, and Jason Goldberg is his name, and the two of them took on Techno Destructo, and it was a pretty intense match. It was like a lumberjack match. So all the other members of Bad Luck 13 were around the ring, and if people got thrown out of the ring, then they were going to beat them up and throw them back in. And then I had it turns out that my valet was the female member of Bad Luck 13 in disguise as my valet. So she turned on me halfway through the match, too. But I finished that one off. I did a moonsault off the top turnbuckle onto their huge bouncer dude. And that's how I finished off the match. They tried to jump through they tried to hold me down on a table, and the lead singer was going to jump on me, but he missed and he smashed himself through the table by accident. And while everybody was looking for that, I snuck around the ring and did a moonsault onto the big guy. But
Nice.
then when I came to L.A. area, Las Vegas, and did that same thing on Alcatraz in Freak Show Wrestling, I broke my wrist. So even though wrestling is, it's for real, dude. Don't let anybody tell you anything different.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Hell yeah.
So, your biggest feud in Freak Show Wrestling to date has been with Serial Man. How'd that feud come about, and how's your relationship with Serial Man now?
I first met him at the Octopus match. It was a special Freak Show event that was where there was an octopus under the ring, and his tentacles were coming out fighting with the wrestlers during a huge battle royal that had about 100 people in it.
Holy shit.
And Serial Man eliminated me in that battle royal, and that was how our rivalry first started. And we had a huge battle. We fought more outside of the ring after he eliminated me than we did in the ring during that fight. But man, that fight was so chaotic. There was so much going on. There were 8 octopus tentacles coming out from under the ring, and they were all lashing out at the wrestlers. We had like all kind. Every performer that has ever been with Freak Show was in that show. It was really an incredible show. But that's how our rivalry started. And then we went into this thing where we were having these matches called the Bloodbath for a balanced breakfast. And so in those, they got pretty gory. And you can see some of those on the House of Huntar YouTube page, the Techno Destructo versus Serial Man. But what ended up happening with us
We had a lot of battles. We really did. And there were some pretty intense ones. And he almost beat me once or twice. But ultimately what happened was, and this is documented on the webpage too, is he was bit by Gangrel, who old-time WWE fans may remember. Gangrel was a vampire wrestler from way back when. And he still does a lot of shows. He's pretty awesome, and he teaches as well. And I have had the pleasure of being in the same show with him, never facing against him. But him and Simbodi have had I've seen them have plenty of machete matches where they're swinging these machetes around at each other and stuff. It's pretty intense.
That's insane.
But Gangrel bit Serial Man in a match where he was fighting Boogeyman. You know, Boogeyman is the super crazy Cajun, super muscle-bound black dude, and puts the worms in his mouth, and they all dangle out of his mouth, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen him eat it.
Yeah, he's super intense. He's awesome.
Oh,
And he was fighting against Gangrel, and Serial Man was one of the many people who got involved in that match and ended up getting bit by Gangrel. So the next match, the next night, I was supposed to face Serial Man again, but it turns out that he was dead because he had been, bit by a vampire the night before. So then he comes running out, and he's like all Count Chocolate out, and he spits chocolate milk in my face right off the bat, and he was using his super chocolatey powers on me all night.
Super chocolatey powers.
Now, after some of your matches with Serial Man, if you lost a match, were you forced to clean up the ring?
Well, often I'm escorted into the ring by my one of many mysterious space dominatrixes, and I can't really talk about what their function is too much without getting my ass kicked like real hard. But basically, they're there to make sure that I don't do anything embarrassing, and if I do, they're pissed. Like if I don't win, they get mad and kick my ass and make me clean up the mess. And there are a lot of really cool ones. The one that I've been working with the most lately is the one that's in the Easter egg hunt of death video.
Yeah, we were just about to ask you about that. How was that?
It was pretty intense. But first, let me get to where I was going with that. Is I wanted to say Mistress Paramorg, because she's done a lot of cool shows with me, and she's awesome. Really want to make sure that I get to say her name. But anyway, she's been helping me a lot, and yeah, those the Easter egg hunt of death was a freak show event. A lot of the freak show events are Sinvodi's special, freak show signature matches, like when we did the Invisible Cage match. We were guests at Hood Slam one Halloween, I think it was, or something. But anyway, we were guests at Hood Slam, and Sinvodi and I fought each other in an Invisible Cage match, and you can see that online as well.
In fact,
but Sinvodi has come up with a lot of really cool, crazy ideas like that. So it's been a lot of fun to be part of Freak Show Wrestling. And the Easter egg hunt of death was one that I myself was allowed to figure out how it was going to work. So we had like an Easter basket on each corner of the ring full of goodies that we could use on each other, sort of. And so we had lots of animals that we were ripping their guts out with our teeth and stuff like that. Because I hate to reveal my secret strategy for the way that I've been winning these wrestling matches, but one thing that I've found is very effective is if I grab my opponent's head in my mechanical claw and crush it until it starts to crack open. And then when their brain starts to pop out, I eat the part of their brain that contains their wrestling knowledge. And that way, not only do I make them unable to use their best maneuvers, but my wrestling ability increases exponentially on the spot. And I end up using their own dirty tricks against them.
That's diabolical, man.
It works.
Whatever works.
It can work. It can work. And plus, I have my valets that help me. They're always there with the wrench ready to crank me up again if I get run down and suit me up and all that. If I'm not performing well enough, sometimes they've been known to give me as bad a beating as my opponent, if not worse. So you never know what's going to happen next.
So what was it like? I was watching some of the videos. Actually, in fact, since we booked this with you, Techno, I've been watching most of the videos I could find from Freak Show, like nonstop, especially with you in it. And I found one where you were battling the king of Dong style, Joey Ryan, in a Testes of Strength.
Yeah, actually, that wasn't a Freak Show event. That was a pro wrestling event.
Oh,
and that one has gotten more hits than anything else that I've done, because Joey Ryan is a popular bad guy in Japan because his gimmick is that he's big, muscle-bound, hairy dude, and his gimmick is that he's got this giant porno slong that he uses to do weird tricks in the wrestling ring. And so to Japanese people, that's like, that's horrible. And there's another Freak Show. There is a Freak Show wrestling super awesome black girl named Camille, who has gone to Japan, and they play her as a monster. In Freak Show wrestling, she often played the ghost of Whitney Houston, and
awesome.
Which was really funny because she'll come out and she'll be like going, "Where's Bobby?" And she'll be like start singing songs and stuff in the middle of a wrestling match and stuff. But Freak Show wrestling has had a lot of cool stuff going on with it. A lot of cool stuff. But Joey Ryan is that one has gotten a lot of hits because he's really popular in Japan.
Yeah, his crossover is coming into the States a little bit too.
Yeah, he was on Lucha Underground.
Oh yeah, I think I remember seeing that.
Was he able to do the
You
penis
can definitely
flips?
check out Lucha Underground.
Lucha Underground with a plug from the Techno Destructo. So let me ask you, Techno, there's another scumdog by the name of Scrota Moon. He's been known to show up at events where you're at. Is he just riding your coattails, or is it by design that he's not that far behind you?
I'll tell you one thing. If I ever get face-to-face with that sellout punk, I'm going to rip him limb from limb. But, yeah, Scrota Moon has been, in fact, he's been in some of the same matches I was in. He was in the Octopus match, and he was eliminated by Crime Time. I don't know if you remember them. They were a really awesome WWE group, or WWF maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But
money. Yeah.
remember them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, they were awesome. And see, they were. That's the thing about Freak Show wrestling is a lot of times, different crazy weird people will show up, and you never know who is going to be next. Like one year, Jim Morrison was playing Jesus. It was awesome. He played this real super rock star Jesus with sunglasses, and it was a Jesus against Santa Claus match, a Christmas match.
Oh, nice.
Who came out on top?
Started off. What's that?
I said, who came out on top in that one?
I'm not. It was pretty long and drawn out because Jesus came out with about 6 apostles. Santa Claus came out with about 6 elves.
Oh my God!
And so it's this huge match with all these people on the outside of the ring, but all of the apostles were sort of getting pissed at Jesus because he's acting like such a rock star, and his mom was there, like, kissing his ass. And she was played by, I can't remember her name, but she's super hot, and she wasn't wearing very much clothes for Jesus' mom. She was there. In fact, both Marys were there fighting over Jesus, in a way. And Jake the Snake Robert ends up, I think he finished the match off by coming out and raining a snake down on Girlfriend Mary. Jake the Snake Roberts is Sin Bodie's mentor, so a lot of times he'll be there. Sometimes get involved in the wrestling ring, sometimes not. In fact, Sin Bodie and I have been working on a anti-gravity match.
Oh, that'd be something to see, man. Because I watched the Invisible Cage match, and that was pretty fucking cool, man.
It was brutal.
I've done quite a few anti-gravity matches with Serial Man, and it's pretty tricky the way that it works. The audience has to participate, and what happens is I have this machine that's in one corner of the ring, right? And my valet is chained to the machine so that whatever happens as far as the alteration of the gravity, she's not affected, right? Mm-hmm. So then during the match, I'll tell her to adjust the gravity, for instance, and make all of a sudden the ring will shift to one side and the Serial Man will fall, right? And then I can use gravity to fall myself on top of him, as well as I can get up on top of the ring onto the top turnbuckle, and then I can tell her to crank the gravity like way up, and then I can fall on him, you know, so that increases my mass and all that stuff, you know.
That's awesome.
And so those matches are pretty fun too. And Sin Bodie and I have been working on a match that we're going to present to the human race, where Jake the Snake Roberts is the special guest referee, and he has a special set of snakeskin anti-gravity boots that keep him from being affected by the effect of the anti-gravity machine. So there you go.
Awesome.
But where else, other than Freak Show Wrestling and Sin Bodie, could there be all of these weird, crazy things like this? You know? But on the other hand, I understand that all over the United States, there are little pockets, like, you know, places in Texas, you know, that, and like Hood Slam is another example. And they were in National Geographic. Did an article about them. And Hood Slam is a little bit different from Freak Show in that most of the characters are derived from video game characters. And the reason it became so popular is that it's near some big, huge computer company that, you know, is like a huge skyscraper full of people that come to their events all the time. And they get pretty wild at some of those events.
Yeah, there's actually, Jason and I were talking about going to attend it next week. There's a local indie promotion around here called Best of the West.
Yeah.
And actually Funny Bone is going to be there.
Yeah, he's super intense, man. I was just in a match against Funny Bone. It was at an ICP event in Las Vegas. And that was pretty wild for me because Funny Bone has like been the Freak Show Wrestling champion forever, for as long as I can remember. Him and Sin Bodie used to fight over it a little bit, but ultimately Funny Bone took it, and nobody has ever been able to even come close to taking it away from him. And for me to actually face him in a wrestling match was, you know, sort of like me, you know, ascending like Zeus from Olympus, lowering myself to his level so that we could compete. And I tried to tone my usual stuff down a little bit so that he didn't get hurt. It was pretty intense, I'll tell you that.
Can you tell us about some of your matches with former WWE Cruiserweight Champion Brian Kendrick?
There's one online where I'm fighting against Andrea the Giant and Brian Kendrick, but I think my matches with Serial Man are more interesting. However, I did train with Brian Kendrick quite a bit later on after that.
Oh, I must have misread the question I had written down here.
Yeah, there was a match, like he said, with Andrea the Giant on there. That was the only match you've had with Brian Kendrick?
Where he and I were in the ring together, yes. But I've had a lot of other matches, like I went up to San Jose area and did some UGWA matches, UGWA. They don't say UGWA, though. That's how they pronounce it. But anyway, I fought against this local popular guy and who was like a
crazy transvestite, and he had this giant double dildo. I hope it's okay for me to say words like that on your stuff.
Oh, of course.
You can say whatever you want.
And they billed a match as Kevin Gill was the promoter, and he billed a match as the claw versus the dildo or something to that effect. and blood did flow in that one for sure. And then I came back ready for my rematch, and I was all ready to break shitty on this guy, and turns out that I'm going to be his tag team partner in the next match. But it worked out okay. It worked out okay, and it was a really kick-ass match. I've also fought local popular guy Jason Kruger, who that match is on, I believe it's on the TECHNO DESTRUCTO Facebook page, and that was a pretty crazy match, and because he only outweighs me by about 3 times, but that was pretty interesting. And what other kind of matches have there been? There've been a lot over the while. There was a test tube match at Freak Show one time where there was this weird midget doctor platypus character that created genetic mutations, and there was a half Serial Man, half TECHNO DESTRUCTO guy that I had to fight. That was pretty weird too. So you never know what might happen next.
Okay, now I gotta ask: have you ever seen the show Inside the Actor's Studio with James Lipton? Is that something you could get in outer space?
I think I've seen an episode or two of that. Why?
Okay, at the end of his show, he usually asks everybody the same set of questions, and we kind of compiled our own list of questions catered just to you. So, if you're cool with it, who has been your favorite opponent?
I would say Serial Man, because I felt like we really did bring a super intense battle to the audience. He was big and strong enough that he could lift me up over his head and smash me down. And Serial Man is a weird enough character that he meshed with TECHNO DESTRUCTO really well.
Oh yeah. What's your favorite match of all time that you've been involved in?
I think I like the Bloodbath for A Balanced Breakfast the best, just because it was really gory and fun and crazy and unpredictable, and a lot of the stuff that we did in the early ones, we found out that, we better not do that anymore. So it was fun.
All right. If you could have a match with anyone alive or dead, who would it be?
King Kong.
That's
The monkey or King Kong Bundy?
The real gorilla, baby.
I'm sorry. Who had the greatest influence on you as a wrestler?
I would say it would have to be Sin Bodhi, but Brian Kendrick, I did train with him, and I guess I've been slipping steadily into Hunter Jackson the whole time, so I might as well go the rest of the way. But in reality,
No, that's fine.
I trained with Brian Kendrick for a while. Sin Bodhi introduced us, and Brian Kendrick was really fun to work with because he got what I was doing as far as TECHNO DESTRUCTO goes and stuff like that. And he actually allowed me to train in his class. And at first I was like, well, we'll see. I want to, because I had come by, and we had done moves and crap like that. But I was like, no, I want to start your class on day one, and I want to go through everything just like your students do. And because, a wrestling class starts with enough exercise to kill a normal person. And I wanted to see how much of that I could take, or how I would stack up to all these guys that were like half or maybe even a third of my age.
Yeah.
And so I did. I went for it, and it was awesome. And much to my surprise, I was able to keep up. And I had a blast, and I learned a lot. That allowed me to really up my game and get a lot more comfortable in the wrestling ring, where I could relax and really perform. Because that's what me as a wrestler and stuff. I don't pretend to be the awesomest wrestler ever.
in real, even though Techno Destructo, of course, does, but, like, I make up for it because I can work the audience, and I can get the audience excited. And, I might not ever really be in the title match, but I can definitely steal the show and try to be the most memorable thing that people talk about in the car on the way home,
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about. Now, how did you get into the wrestling business? And you kind of already answered that a
Well,
little
in
bit.
in reality, what happened, that was sort of the story that Techno told was pretty close. But I was friends with the Radioactive Chicken Heads, which is a crazy band that they all dress up like chickens, and they have these big chicken heads. And so I was friends with them, and I heard about one of their members was actually going to get married at this crazy wrestling event. And Jake the Snake Roberts, who I mentioned before, is a certified minister, so that he could actually legally perform the wedding ceremony, and that's what they wanted to do. So I was like, wow, I want to be a part of this wrestling show. I did a little bit of wrestling in Philadelphia, and see, the other thing about it too is when we were doing Guar over the years, we had done a lot of wrestling shows where we would write a new album with a whole cast of characters, right? And then we would tour the United States with that show. And then as soon as we finished that tour, we want to make another tour, but, we don't want to have the exact same show again, but we just spent all this money to build these new characters. So, I know, we'll just take these characters and put them in a wrestling show, and during the course of the show, we'll have like four or five matches where the characters are fighting each other. And so when we went on tour, we would paint a huge backdrop that would be the audience on the other side, as if the stage was in a wrestling ring. There's a whole audience of mongrels on the other side of the ring looking at you. And then when the wrestling matches come out, we would put ropes across the front of the stage. So we had done mock wrestling shows with War, and for me especially, War was all about the stunt fighting, because that's my part in the show. Was I was always the bad guy, that I'm either playing the victim that gets beat up, or I'm playing the monster that attacks War, and fights. So I was always super into the stunt fighting aspect of it from the beginning, and that was one of the things that I've always thrived on. And so to me, wrestling is fun because it's super physical, and I get to build all this crazy stuff. Like in a lot of the shows, I have a dummy I use where it's like a ball. It's sort of like if I was to squat down and ball up into a ball, like I was going to do a cannonball or something. And Techno Destructo has a tail like a donkey, so you can hold on to the tail and swing it around like a mace, right? And sometimes I'll get my valets to use it as a weapon against my opponents, and stuff like that, or substitute it. Like, I think it's in that Brian Kendrick video a little bit, but we use it in a lot of different ways. It's pretty fun, but that's the kind of stuff that I do, and like I try to bring to the wrestling, as well as the blood. I brought a little bit of the blood from Guar, although I don't like spew 15 feet into the audience like Guar does. I do use blood bags, and like in the early, like I was saying before, we were doing stuff that, we turned out maybe it wasn't so good because the blood mix is really slippery. And if it gets in the wrestling ring, then no matter how hard I try to scrub it after the show, and part of the show is like Techno Destructo's valet making him mop up, but no matter how hard I try, it's still all crazy slippery. And so we've come up with this technique where I'll bounce against the ropes and pop the blood bag into the audience. So it goes up in the air and everybody gets to see it really good, but the bulk of the blood goes into the audience and stuff like that.
I think you brought it up earlier. I think that may have been the first Guar show I went to was on one of the wrestling tours back in like the mid.
Yeah, they were fun. We did a lot of them. They were really fun.
people primarily know you for being a founding member of GWAR. And, you and I had talked about this before, and we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about GWAR since this is a wrestling podcast. But I think there are a lot of fans out there who are curious to know what your opinion is on the state of GWAR since Dave Brocky passed away.
Well, I mean, if they want to keep doing it, they have every right to. I thought it was awesome that Beefcake came back, and I thought the Blowthor character was really awesome, and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's really different. I mean, I don't really have any big desire to go back again. I want to move forward and do more different, crazy, cool stuff. I still have a lot of super awesome stuff I'd really like to build, but I just don't have the money for it right now. But I'm also doing a lot of comics, just like when I was in GWAR. I was always doing GWAR comics and stuff, and publishing newsletters and editing videos and stuff. So I still do all that sort of stuff too. I'm hoping to put together some kind of a Techno Destructo DVD that has a lot of the different matches that I've done and some of the funny promos that I did, like the Easter egg Hunt of Death one, and stuff like that. And there's a lot of more crazy stuff. I mean, I don't want to talk about it too much because somebody else might build it before I get a chance to. And
You don't want to give
right,
too much.
and just like with wrestling, I definitely have some ideas of some cool wrestling matches that I'm really burning to do, but I don't dare talk about them because somebody else will pick the ball up and run with it before I get a chance,
All right, this will be the last GWAR question, and then we could get back to the wrestling. But I did want to ask you about, on their last album, they finally wrote a song for the Sawborg Destructo character, instead of reusing your old song. And in the lyrics, they tell the story that Techno built Sawborg, and then Techno was shunned, and he split. He took off. But the lyrics in that song that stood out to me were, Techno built me, and he left my ass behind. I'll kill the maker if his ass I ever find. One day he will return, and we'll go to war. And a lot of old school fans kind of saw that as being disrespectful to you and your character. How do you feel about them referencing Techno and essentially calling him out?
Well, for one thing, it's not worth getting all bent out of shape over, and if
this isn't like an East Coast, West Coast rap.
Well, if
thing.
just recently, in fact, in the upcoming gathering of the Juggalos, I was trying to get on the wrestling card for that, and if that had happened, I was hoping that maybe there could be some kind of interaction with me and GWAR, and you never know what might happen. But I didn't get on the card. But anything could happen. But I mean, I don't want to badmouth them. I don't want to start some kind of war with them or anything.
Right.
But I'm not anxious to go back either. And that, and I have my own reasons for that too. But don't worry, there's plenty more crazy stuff where that came from, and I've got a lot more things that I want to do, that are going to happen, and you never know what might happen next.
Now you've already mentioned some of the props and stuff that were made. What were some of your favorite props that you made for Freak Show Wrestling?
Well, for WPW, I made this really awesome Bigfoot costume that was really crazy, and it was built specifically to be used in the wrestling ring, and that was pretty fun and exciting. We ended up.
Now we're talking World Championship Wrestling.
What's that?
We're talking Ted Turner WCW.
No, WPW. Wrestling Pro Wrestling.
Oh,
Brian.
Yeah,
Kendrick
we both misheard you because it kind of cut a little bit right when you said the middle.
Oh, no, I'm talking. Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
No, that was
it's like
fault.
Wrestling Pro Wrestling. That's Brian Kendrick's outfit, and
gotcha.
yeah,
okay.
and Techno Destructo's wrestled a little bit. They used the Sasquatch. In fact, the Sasquatch was a commission for Brian Kendrick, and they still have it and use it to this day. And
Really?
I haven't seen specifically what they did with it. But I built a couple things for them. I built these two funny looking heads for these characters that they call the Rubber Baby Leather Daddy. The Rubber Baby Leather Daddy. And they're these two, one of them is dressed up like a baby. They're these two S&M guys. And one of them is dressed up like a baby and the other one is all leather duded out. But they both have these sort of big, like Fred Flintstone, Barney Rubble, weird-looking heads. And they're pretty funny. And stuff like that.
Do you still make the medical prosthetics?
Yeah, I still work at a prosthetic shop as my day job to make sure that I have enough to survive. But, when I first got to LA, I was really looking around for places to work and stuff. But the more I hear about stuff, like I have a friend, Andy Chavez in Haunted Garage, and he does a lot of Gwar-esque props and really cool makeup stuff. I mean, I don't want to compare them to Gwar because actually they're Dookie Flashwater, their lead guys, like, Gwar peer guy. They were doing it before they ever heard of Gwar. But anyway, he works for like all these crazy Hollywood movies that, whoa, I would love to work for that. But you know what? His job is breathing, toxic dust all day, and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm not sure that I'm so anxious to work in a place like that,
In your free time, do you keep up with any other wrestling promotions, like WWE, ROH, or New Japan, or anything like that?
No, mostly I'm like a big game geek, right? And I play geeky games like Warhammer, stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about?
The big tabletop ones.
You have an idea? It's sort of like games where you move miniatures around on the table and roll dice and kill each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've seen it played before.
Stuff like that. There's a bunch of different ones that I like to play, and actually, Games Workshop just came out with one called Shade Spy. That's pretty fun. That's like an evolution of a bunch of other games. But anyway, in fact, in the old days when I was with Gwar, one of the things that I worked on was the Gwar game. It was called Rumble in Antarctica, and it was about Gwar members fighting amongst themselves. And I worked with the game company a lot to develop the characters and make sure that all the rules were consistent with the way the different characters acted in the shows and stuff. It was pretty fun.
I had a lot of the miniatures from those games, and I think one of the coolest things was, at least for me, as a Gwar fan, is getting the rule book. They had a lot of your artwork in there, so I'd be flipping through it going, damn, that'd be a great tattoo. That'd be a great tattoo. That'd be a great tattoo.
Oh, dude, man. I wish I had one penny for every one of my things that's been tattooed on somebody. Especially that old Gwar, that, the most, when you think of Gwar logo, the one that pops in you, I drew that one, and I don't even get royalties for it anymore,
Which
anyway,
logo?
You don't want to go.
You kind of cut out a little bit, I'm sorry.
Which logo was that, Hunter?
The one that you think of the most when you think of a Gwar logo.
With the floating eyeball?
Yeah, the winged eyeball with the skull, with the mechanical monocle,
Oh, okay.
The one that's on top of the Gwar temple.
Right, yeah. I know which one you're talking about. I've seen a
All
lot of
that
your
stuff
artwork
dates
on
back
people.
to the very beginning.
Yeah, and in fact, the one on the inside of Scumdogs, yeah, that's Jason just showed me the picture of the logo you're talking about. I said, yeah, the
That's
logo
badass. I actually wouldn't mind getting that tattoo.
on the inside of Scumdogs with all the little characters that you had drawn. You had done that logo as well, right?
Yeah, that's my artwork too.
Okay. How did you feel? Well, I don't even know if you were aware of it, but Dimebag Darrell from Pantera wore that shirt with your logo on it in the video for Cemetery Gates.
No shit. That's cool. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I didn't even spot that.
Really? Shit, that's going back.
And I've
almost
seen that
30
video
years
about
now.
100 times too, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, while we're talking about other bands and stuff, this Mentors video just came out that's really cool that talks about El Duce. I don't know if you know about the Mentors or El Duce, but
Yeah.
he was on Jerry Springer with us. That's where you might have seen him.
Oh
if you
yeah,
hadn't seen-
I've watched that video a couple times because it's fucking awesome.
I
man.
skipped school to watch that episode of Jerry Springer with you guys on it.
Yeah, and see, El Duce was a regular character that we used to bump into all the time. In fact, when we first started out, he told all the bars, the same places he used to play to let us play, and we did a lot of shows with them and stuff. And he would always show up on the road. He was always really funny, crazy character for sure.
Yep.
But anyway, check out that video. That's another thing that's out there that people should know about.
Yeah, I saw you shared that on your Facebook page.
Oh, but there's another thing I wanted to talk about. I'm trying to wrap up this comic book that I want to publish called When Heroes Run the Earth. And it's about a post-apocalyptic scenario where this super hot all-American superhero chick with hardly any clothes on is ripping apart robots with her bare hands and fighting undead neo-Nazis. So it's really fun.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hopefully going to put that out. It's about 52 pages long, and it's going to be pretty juicy.
You had done some of those When Heroes Roam the Earth stories back in the Guar days, right?
Right. So what I did was, if you've seen those before, I took those and basically I fleshed that story out a lot and added a whole bunch of new splash pages. And because I always felt like that story was crammed into such a small number of pages, because I didn't want to hog up the whole Guar book, with all that stuff. But I would always try to keep the story short. And this was a chance to flesh it out, give it some breathing room, do some really juicy splash pages with some really awesome gratuitous sex and violence and all that stuff. So it's really juicy and going to be really fun. And it's all the same attitude that I bring to wrestling and all that stuff.
Hell yeah.
So what?
Oh, the other thing I've been doing lately is I've done a lot of art gallery shows. In fact, this past year, I've done less wrestling, and I've been working on digging up all my old Guar artwork and framing it and doing art gallery shows and stuff, putting it on display and making it available to people to buy. But the bad news is I'm not really all that anxious to part with any of it, so I'm jacked the prices up so high that I won't cry if somebody buys something.
Oh, just like someone resells it?
So you're putting the sentimental value price tag on it?
Kind of, yeah. Well, no, it's more like I'm only going to sell the damn thing once, so I'm going to hold out.
Hell yeah. So when and where are you going to appear next? Like, do you have any matches coming up or anything like that? Or are you going to appear at any events?
Let's see. Actually, I don't have anything that scheduled right now to promote. Here in town, the anime in LA, the big, huge anime convention is here. This is probably the biggest anime convention in the United States, and it is incredible because LA is close and convenient for people to come from Japan as opposed to New York. And so it's pretty intense. I was down there today, and tomorrow, me and Ryan Haley, who I share my condominium with, him and some other crazy, weird, creative type people. And he does a thing called Ryan's Game Show that is hilarious, that you should look up, that where he plays this character that has this fantasy that he wants to be a game show host. So he has all these. It's crazy. You'd have to look it up. It's sort of like, what if this guy just pretended to be a game show host and just got people to come over to his house and do stupid stuff for $20, basically. But the funny thing about it is Ryan is an incredible editor and he's an incredible effects editor, right? So here you have this totally low budget show, but it's got all of these fancy bells and whistles and graphics, and he actually got a professional announcer and stuff. You'd have to see it. In fact, we're working on a possible celebrity episode where Techno Destructo is on sort of a dating game, because every episode is a sort of a takeoff on an existing game show, you know, and like he'll have one where people try to sing, you know, and one where they try to cook, you know, and stuff like that. And but my favorite one was where he combined. A lot of times he'll combine two diverse game shows into one weird idea. My favorite one was too controversial for him to actually release, but it was a combination of whack-a-mole and To Catch a Predator.
That's great.
And it was really funny because the way it worked is, so he gets these contestants, you know, he just gets them on Craigslist, you know, and they show up. So the way that the contest worked is he holds up a board that has 12 pictures, mug shots, right? And so you're supposed to punch the one that's a predator, right? But what makes it funny is if you punch wrong, Ryan is all sad, and he goes, "Oh, you just falsely accused so-and-so, you know, who's like the Boy Scout leader and, you know, church, you know, guy and all that stuff. Oh, that's too bad. But if you punch the predator, he's all happy. That's right. You punched so-and-so who picked up people on the highway and took them to his house and tied them up and murdered them." You know, so it was pretty funny. But once he edited it, it was kind of weird, so he ended up not putting that one out. But anyway, the ones he did put out are hilarious, and you should check them out.
I would totally DVR
Wow.
that show.
What were we talking about before I got on that? Oh, what it was, the anime. So tomorrow I'm going to get dressed up as Techno Destructo, and we're going to go down to the anime convention, and I'm going to talk to people who are cosplay people who are dressed up in costume, and try to get them to interact with Techno Destructo and talk about their characters and stuff like that.
Where is this? Where's this anime convention at?
This is at the L.A. Convention Center in downtown L.A.
Oh, okay.
Now, is Techno going to be on
And with the
roller
Staples
skates for
Center.
that one?
What's that? Huh?
I said, is Techno going to be on roller skates for that one?
No, I was thinking about it, but it's like 100 damn degrees, and
Yeah.
in a crowd of people like that, it's kind of hard for me to swoop around. And I'll tell you, man, roller skate with Techno Destructo is fun, but man, when it's 100 degrees, I get blown quick, dude.
You'd probably be taking people out with the wrench.
No, I've never hurt anybody yet, knock on wood. I have seen people throw their back out trying to lift up my claw, you know. I have seen people go into back spasms and their head turn bright red and the veins bulge out on their neck.
I've actually had my
loud
head.
Crack comes out of their back, you know, from trying to lift my claw up. I mean, that stuff does, no kidding, it does weigh about 90 pounds.
Oh, wow.
I've had my head in that claw before, and that son of a bitch was heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy, and I'm all jumping around, lifting it up and swinging it around and stuff and all. But it's fun, like doing it. I love working conventions and stuff, especially if there's lots of other people dressed up in costume to interact with and goof on. You know, it's pretty fun. I really wish there was a safer way for us to sneak more beer over there. I bet I would do a lot better performance.
I'm sure you could build some sort of an arm that, you know, you could kind of use as a cooler.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I could have like a straw going straight to it.
That'd be pretty cool, actually.
I could hide it in my backpack. I might even have to install something like that.
Oh, shit, I'm giving him ideas.
You got the gears turning.
So, Hunter,
yeah, in the old days, Chuck Varga, who played the Sexecutioner, he and I used to love to go to conventions and stuff, Comic-Cons and science fiction conventions and horror cons and stuff. And I would get a table and put a whole bunch of wall props and stuff on display. Sometimes I even had like photo booths where you could put on the actual like ball sack, shoulder pads, and helmet and take a picture, you know, which was really awesome when people would have little kids, you know, with the GWAR stuff on. Oh, man, those pictures were so funny.
Yeah, I did that.
But Chuck and I, he would be Sexecutioner, and we would run around the convention and screaming and yelling about, "Where's GWAR?" You know, I'd be going where's Guar? I came all the way from the far side of the galaxy to kick their ass, and I can't find them. Where's Guar? Do you know where their booth is? You know, and I would, harass the audience until I got somebody to point where the Guar booth was, you know, and stuff like that to get people to know where it was. And then Chuck would be doing the same thing, and we would run into each other at random at some point, and we would start having a big fight. And then we would just go at it for a little while until we started to block traffic too much. And then we would split up. I would disappear into the crowd and take it up somewhere else. But it's funny, there was we used to do a lot of that stuff. And Danielle would go, and if Danielle didn't go, I would get some random girl. I always had those female Techno Destructo costumes, so I would get some random girl at the convention to dress up and hang out with us and be our booth babe.
All right.
But sometimes they would get too out of control and want to get into the fight and stuff. And one time this girl she went to put on the costume, and somehow when she was getting dressed, she met up with some hotel employee who gave her a bunch of shots or something. So when she got back, she was all dressed out, but she was like teetering around on these high heel shoes. And because that's the one thing I don't have. I don't have any shoes. The girls always provide their own boots. I've got the plastic bikinis that I made. But anyway, with the spikes and all on them.
Yeah.
So this girl had the thing on. She comes out and she's teetering around on these high heel shoes with the spike heels, and she, next thing you know, she slips up and she falls flat on her butt. Boom! And this ripple effect goes all the way up her body from her butt all the way up. And then when it gets to her boobs, they go boink and pop right out of the top of the costume.
All right, so do you have any sponsors you need to plug?
I do, because I met Kyle Colson, who works for this company, Hella Hot Sauce. It's his company that he started himself, Hella Hot Sauce. And he approached me about doing a product, and I was like, well, I'm not really a hot sauce guy, but I like garlic and stuff like that. So he made this sauce, and we decided to call it Garlic Death Grip, Techno Destructo's Garlic Death Grip Hot Sauce. And it turns out that it's really good. And it's gotten a lot of good reviews online and stuff. There's reviews of it where these guys will take a spoonful of it in their mouth and swish it around and try to figure out what it's made out of and stuff. And so Kyle has been getting everything together to actually market the stuff and put it in grocery stores and stuff like that. And he's been step by step getting all of the permits and, jumping through all the hoops he needs to get it actually marketed, and put in grocery stores and stuff. And it looks like it's going to happen. So, but on top of that, Kyle has really been helpful to me in that in order to promote the hot sauce, he has hooked me up with a lot of cool wrestling shows and stuff, like the Ugla stuff and all like that. So we're going to be promoting the hot sauce. Hopefully we'll be doing some conventions and stuff like that too. And one thing that I'm really looking forward to is one of the people I met through Freak Show Wrestling is Shelly Martinez.
Oh, hell yeah.
Who is a regular on Freak Show Wrestling. And I've been talking to her about having her dress up like Vampirella or Elvira or something and doing a little commercial with Techno Destructo, because the slogan for Techno Destructo's Garlic Death Grip Hot Sauce is guaranteed to kill vampires or your money back.
That's pretty awesome, man. All right, and is there a website that you can find this stuff on?
Yes, it's available right now. You can look up his website for Hella Hot Sauce, and he has about a dozen products or so that he puts out. He makes himself. They're all really good, and try it out. I highly recommend it, and everybody that has tried it has really liked it a lot. So support him, man, because he's really helped me out a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out because I'm big hot sauce guy. I like getting the really hot wings at Buffalo Wild Wings. Oops, free plug.
We really appreciate you being on the show, man. We don't want to take up too much of your time. So is there anything you want to say kind of in closing to your fans out there, whether it be, the wrestling fans, the Guar fans, just the fans in
artwork
general?
fans.
Yeah.
Well, keep track of Techno Destructo on Facebook. That's where I'll announce most of the new stuff that I'm doing. And Hunter Jackson, I put a little bit different Hunter Jackson stuff up, although I try not to put too much political stuff up if I can help it.
Yeah, it's a little hard these days.
It is, man. It really is. But anyway, there are going to be more crazy stuff happening. I'm hoping to do more wrestling matches up north, and I'm hoping to do more wrestling matches in Las Vegas. Hopefully there'll be a video coming out with Tim Bodie and me doing a super intense anti-gravity match. That's something to look out for. And the Heroes Roam the Earth graphic novel all coming out. And stand up for the sick stuff that you crave. Check out House of Huntar YouTube and look at all the videos, especially Cajun or Bigfoot tamed by Cajun Gator Hunter.
I saw that. That video is fucking hilarious, man.
Yeah, I was channeling some of my cousins and stuff that I love.
Well, again.
Anyway, well, thanks for being into it, you guys, and all that stuff.
Thanks for being on the show, man. We appreciate it.
And now another word from our sponsor. Have you ever wanted to make your own e-liquid or even make your own candy? Check out gremlindiy.com, where you can find over 1,000 different flavors to tweak your e-juice or candy recipes to how you like them. Whether you want to make apple cinnamon cheesecake, grape bubblegum tobacco, or strawberry mint sugar cookie, you can find everything you need at gremlindiy.com. You can even get your favorite Gremlin one-shots to adjust the original Gremlin juice mixes to your preference. With Gremlin DIY's massive selection of flavors, the possibilities are endless. Wrestling Still Rules listeners can use the promo code WSR for an exclusive discount when ordering. GremlinDIY.com is your store. They just run it. All right, well, that was our guest, Hunter Jackson, a.k.a. Techno Destructo. All right.
Pretty badass for our first. It
was pretty fun. Went a little bit longer than we anticipated it did, but it's.
We appreciate him hanging out with us on a Friday night.
Yeah, hell yeah. So, all right, let's get into the news. Bray Wyatt injured in a car accident. Of course, by now this is old news. And this is from TMZ Sports. WWE Raw Tag Team Champion Bray Wyatt suffered multiple injuries in a head-on car crash on Friday, but tells TMZ Sports, "I'm going to live through it because I can't die." Wyatt, real name Wyndham Lawrence Rotunda, was in Tampa, Florida on his way to the airport to leave for a Raw WWE live event when he smashed into another vehicle. Wyatt's car was totaled, and he was treated at Tampa General Hospital. He's since been released. We, TMZ, well, pronoun pal, just spoke with Wyatt, who tells TMZ he's in good spirits. "I'm moving around," quote. WWE has also issued a statement saying due to the injury sustained, Wyatt did not compete at this past weekend's WWE live events and will not be present at tonight's Raw. And this is this past Monday. TMZ Sports also reported that Bray was cited for careless driving. The police write-up of the accident indicates Wyatt wasn't paying attention to traffic when he rear-ended another car, causing them to veer to the left and hit an oncoming vehicle. Bray was cited for, quote, careless driving due to his failure to operate his vehicle in a careful and prudent manner, end quote. It doesn't mention what he was distracted by, just that he was, quote, inattentive, unquote.
Come on, man. We know he was looking down at his phone. Who of us don't?
Well, yeah, like I was telling you on the way over here, there was someone swerving back and forth between the center line and the shoulder and the center line and the shoulder, and then burned right through a stop sign. And it made me a little nervous because I'm thinking, they're going to fucking kill somebody.
Yeah.
But so we here at Wrestling Still Rules Podcast would like to say, don't text and drive. please don't text and drive. It's not fucking worth it. You kill yourself, kill someone else. It's just not worth it.
There's been too many times that I've been this close because I was looking down at my phone. So like,
Oh yeah.
I know it takes an effort not to do it, but don't. It's not worth it.
Yeah, just leave your phone in the center console or on the seat or wherever. Just don't text and drive. All right. You got anything more on?
I didn't know he was at fault for that.
Yeah, I didn't either. It was when I was typing up the print here. That little bit popped up as well. That he was being cited for it. Now, at first, I saw it as just a rumor, but according, and TMZ is actually probably a little bit more reliable of a source than, say, your average dirt sheets. But yeah, I was really surprised that he was being considered at fault.
Yeah, I was figuring it was someone else, but wow.
I mean, I'm assuming no one died.
Well,
Since they're only giving him a careless driving, but
it would have been bigger headlines if someone.
Oh, absolutely. Because it would have said fatal car accident. But anyways,
not to laugh at that, but
yeah. So all right, another injury to report. Ruby Riott has sustained a knee injury at a WWE house show this past weekend. An MRI was performed, and it showed an MCL sprain to her left knee. No word from WWE as to when Riott will return to action, but it's likely to only be a few weeks since it's a sprain and not a tear. And I saw that they're saying probably like a couple weeks. Just probably give her time to ice it and rest it and everything like that.
Well, I mean, she's a part of that trio with Liv Morgan and who's the other one? Sarah Logan? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so she can.
Yeah, I think they're
Punk did.
basically trying to carry on any sort of storyline or anything that they got the Riott Squad involved in with just those two for the time being.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, Punk's arm was all fucked up, and they still had him out there. Look at what they're doing with Paige. Paige is the GM now, so it's not like, an injury takes you off TV completely.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. I got a bad knee, and I know how bad that stuff sucks, so... Yeah, hopefully she comes back and she's just lucky it didn't get torn, because that'd be even worse, and she'd be out for 6 months as opposed to a couple weeks.
Well, now we don't get the build-up. Now, since we have a women's Royal Rumble, we don't get the build-ups like we used to, like when Triple H had his quad pop off the bone or whatever it was, and they made that big build-up for him back at the Rumble.
Right.
I could see them doing
or
something
same
like
with
that.
Seth Rollins when he blew out his knee at the... wasn't he trying to power bomb the Big Show or something?
It was Kane.
Oh yeah. Well, either way, you
they're still
got someone
fucking
his
huge.
size. And you know what's funny? And I'm probably going to get heat for this, but I think a lot of the injuries now have to do with the fact that a lot of the WWE talent engage in CrossFit, and CrossFit is so bad for your joints. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, the way that like standing free jump crap that they do, that is so bad for your joints. And just moving that quickly from exercise to exercise is really bad and really hard on the joints, because I worked with a guy that he messed up his shoulder or his knee or something, one of his joints, doing CrossFit. So
it's bad on your joints, but how is it on your bongs? Crickets? That's my crickets moment.
I'm going to give you the crickets moment, because I got the crickets moment last week.
I'll take it. I earned that one.
All right. And it was during the news, too.
No shit. Oh, I'm so ashamed of myself.
And now, when I was typing this up last night, I was actually getting a little bit pissed off because there wasn't anything, to report. Well, when I went and checked it,
where's the fucking news?
I did a last-minute check to see if there's any verifiable news, because that's the worst part about trying to get any sort of wrestling news off the fucking dirt sheets. And I did make a note about that, like the Rey Mysterio thing. It's not confirmed by the WWE, therefore it's not fact. It's nothing but rumor.
Rumor and innuendo.
Yeah. It's nothing but rumor at this point. I guess he's been in talks with the WWE, but they haven't come to a deal yet.
And those rumors have been around since he was in the Rumble.
So, anyways, So there's Enzo Amore, a.k.a. Real One, update.
How you doing?
Yeah, fuck. The Phoenix Police Department has released a report in the case concerning the sexual assault allegations from Enzo Amore, now known as Real One since his WWE release. Amore is focusing on his rap career and putting the situation surrounding his WWE release behind him. Amore was suspended from WWE on January 22nd, the day of Raw's 25th anniversary event, due to the allegations against him, and notified of his release the next day. Thanks to Pro Wrestling Sheet, the recently released report shows police found contradictory evidence against the statement made by Amore's accuser. After reviewing the evidence, the case against Real One is now closed. He was never charged with the crime either. The Phoenix PD's investigation found enough evidence against his accuser's statement that they decided to close the case and not proceed. They have transcribed the police report, which I'll read to you now.
The whole thing?
I copied and pasted this thing. There's a lot. In reviewing the totality of this investigation, it does not warrant the submission for any criminal charges at this time. There's insufficient evidence to corroborate the victim's disclosure of sexual assault. There were no witnesses to the incident, and the forensic examination and crime lab results do not provide evidence of a sexual assault at this time. The suspect did not give a direct statement to police, but did give an indirect statement through his attorney that all contact with the victim was consensual.
His consensual penis.
Yep. Cell phone and social media data and information contradict some of the initial statements about the incident, and there is no cell phone or social media data that can corroborate the sexual assault disclosure. Witness statements made to law enforcement contradict the victim's statements. Video surveillance does confirm that the parties involved were together at the Clarendon Hotel on the night in question. The footage also confirms the victim leaving that morning. Oh, walk of shame. The video surveillance does not capture or corroborate the disclosure of sexual assault.
Maybe we should invite her on the show.
I don't want to get into that. The facts of this case do not allow this case to proceed at this time. In the event that additional evidence comes to light that can corroborate the victim's disclosure of sexual assault, this case can be reopened and further investigated. Until such evidence is located or provided, this case will be closed.
Closed. So does this open the door for Enzo to come back and save the cruiserweights?
No. Because there's probably still going to be people out there that are going to say, oh, he's guilty of sin. He's guilty.
Oh, that's the society we're in now.
Yeah,
Someone throws out an allegation and it's fact.
Evidence anymore, it seems.
Yeah, dude, that's the way it is today. Someone says something, and without any factual evidence or anything to back it up, it's. I think Eddie Trunk called it. Yeah, Eddie Trunk called it the pounce society, where someone says something and everybody else pounces on it.
Yeah, and see, that's a big problem with the way things or the way things are.
The way things is these days. Is that how you is? What it do though?
With the way things are these days. Everybody takes everything at face value and doesn't bother looking into it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could go on.
It's garbage.
But, yeah. So, I mean, that's where it stands. If, there was no evidence, so
he's
according
innocent.
to Phoenix PD, he's innocent. So we're not going to, we're going to withhold any judgment whether he is or not, because we weren't there. So how do we know,
What the police report says is good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, so. And then a few side notes. I didn't really want to go into too much detail, but Daniel Bryan is saying he wants to work limited dates in order to spend more time with his family, which is understandable. He does have a little girl, and, if I were in his shoes, I've got a baby on the way, and I'm leaving for almost 2 weeks to do training for work. And that probably is going to be, that's more than I want to be away from my kid,
That's not going to go over well with your old lady.
Oh, she already knows.
Yeah, she knows. But the minute you're out of here, she's going to be cursing your name.
Oh, I'm going to be hearing about it, I guarantee
Yeah,
it.
you will.
I'll be FaceTiming her and stuff,
I guarantee it.
But,
I mean, is it going to teeter on part-time status?
That's kind of the way, I don't know, I kind of skimmed through the article. It was very wordy,
To me,
but that's kind of the way it was looking.
to me, if anybody's earned being a part-timer, I'm okay with Daniel Bryan being a part-timer. Not I mean, he just came back, but
But, I mean, well, circumstances are different since he
right.
was forced into temporary retirement.
It's not like a
You know, he
Lesnar
didn't-
part-timer deal.
When his concussion thing came out and he had to, well, like I said, temporarily retire from in-ring work, he didn't have the baby at that time. Now that he does, and he's working regular dates, it's a lot harder for him, to do that. So, Eric Bischoff is critical of Brock Lesnar's title reign.
I'm back.
I thought it was funny, given, pretty much the last 3 weeks, it's been mentioned at least once per podcast that, so Eric Bischoff has been basically echoing our statements.
Bischoff,
So-
I love you, man.
Yep.
Bischoff, come on the show, please. We'll come on your show. How about that?
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Well, no, he's doing a podcast with frickin' Conrad.
Bischoff, come on our show, please.
Okay, another side note: Ronda Rousey is officially inducted in the UFC Hall of Fame. First women's fighter to be inducted. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but yeah, I mean it's kind of a big thing because she's
It's a big thing because she's a WWE superstar now,
Yeah.
not a UFC fighter. She's a WWE superstar.
But I mean, it is really cool that regardless of the fact that she, left the UFC for the WWE, that they're still acknowledging the fact that she was one of the probably all-time greats.
oh yeah,
of
she can't.
the female side of the UFC.
No reason for her to hide that history. Especially when it's such a big
Well,
selling
then-
point.
Yeah, and that's why she was wicked over with the fans when she first debuted. in
And
the
she did really
WWE.
fucking good.
Yeah, and she's been steadily improving too. I mean,
Yeah, she's.
I'm actually expecting great things out of her.
If we
And
were to
a lo-
talk about the best women's wrestler in the past 20 years, I think Trish Stratus is definitely going to be up in there, and I could
Oh,
totally
definitely.
see Ronda Rousey surpassing Trish Stratus.
Well, and it seems like she's a quick study.
Oh yeah,
And I'm sure her background in mixed martial arts has helped her be able to pick this up pretty quickly.
absolutely.
And then we kind of already touched on it, but ladies and gentlemen,
Boys and girls, children of all ages.
Rey Mysterio has not officially signed a 2-year deal with the WWE. That is purely speculation, more dirt sheet fucking bullshit. And yeah, we are using some stuff from dirt sheets, but it's stuff that is verifiable. It's stuff that doesn't say, I think this, or there's rumor, or an inside source told me, the same tired fucking dirt sheet bullshit. And, as we've said on this podcast from day one, we will not report anything unless it's been verified as fact by either. I mean, if it's proven, great. And especially if it's something that the WWE announced themselves, i.e. Big Cass being released or, what have you, then, we'll report it. But, I mean, and there's people that were taking that same old fucking tired dirt sheet bullshit as fact. And I even said, anybody that accepts this shit as fact is, I mean, they need to reevaluate their news source because the dirt sheets, about 90% of the shit you find on the dirt sheets is bullshit.
For me, I don't even care, man. Like Rey Mysterio
If he comes
does
back,
nothing
whatever,
for
but
me.
he's going to end up on 205 Live, and they're going to have him basically putting people over. I
If you know what,
guarantee
if
it.
he's on 205 Live, good. But that'll bring more eyes to in the same way, not
Yeah.
putting them on the same level, but in the same way that Enzo being on 205 Live brought a lot of eyes to it.
Yeah.
that would be the same. That would if Mysterio was to go to 205 Live. Oh my God, it would blow up.
If you're going to accept unverified stories as fact, you might as well be just reading kayfabe news.
Oh my dude, I fucking start.
Hey,
I fucking hate kayfabe
I still think
news.
their best article headline was the Ryback. What is it? Ryback gives back pay from Payback pay-per-view or something like that. It was a pretty funny one, dude.
I'm not entertained by kayfabe news at all. The best part of kayfabe news articles is the fucking end, or the fact that I don't even click on it.
Yeah, I mean, usually I see it as I'm scrolling through. Like one of the more recent ones I saw said that the I don't even remember the kid's name, but the little kid that Braun Strowman picked as his tag partner.
I don't even remember that kid's name.
Yeah, I don't remember. But they said
Nicholas. That kid's name was Nicholas.
He's a he is a trainer now at the Performance Center.
See, I just don't think it's funny. This shit's never funny to me, especially when they write headlines that look really fucking real and it catches people.
Yeah,
there's been a few that I've looked at that I'm like, what the fuck, and then I see where I'm like, no.
Yep. So, pretty much, unless you hear it from WWE, take it with a grain of salt.
Big fart is what that is.
So
I really don't even care about Mysterio coming back, man.
But yeah, so that's our podcast for this week. As always, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Wrestling Still Rules. You can find us on Twitter at WSR Podcast 1. You can find me at BDJ1985. You can find Big Million at Big Million. Listen to us on iTunes and SoundCloud, and apparently Castbox also has an episode, has our
all
episodes
3 of
up.
them so far.
Yeah, we're not sure how that happened, but yeah, I mean, you can listen to us there too, I guess, if you want. But if you listen to us on iTunes, like we said at the top of the show, please leave a rating and review. It helps us out a lot. It helps get more eyes on our podcast, and we appreciate any and all support. And I mean, like I said, if you don't like what you hear or you have some suggestions for us, you can also email us at wsrpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, so tune in next week for another great episode of Wrestling Still Rules.
And you can't teach that.
Fuck off.